We live in a time where horror and gaming has become a more communal experience, with Twitch, YouTube, and other social media platforms shining a light on the genre, exposing the shadows and removing some of what's hidden behind the curtain. The great thing is that it showcases the sheer number of horror games released. The genre as of late has mostly been relegated to the indie scene, due to most AAA companies not willing to take that leap. It also helps remove the guff and make the truly excellent titles rise to the top. The problem is once you reveal what's behind the curtain, the intrigue and terror becomes softer and loses some of that edge that was wrapped in mystery. In the genre of horror, the scare tends to only work once. But what if there was a game where the fear and tension stuck throughout, even if you knew what was coming and what it looked like? What if the game never stopped being scary? Buckshot Roulette is the newest streamer or YouTuber reactionary horror game to elicit some response on social media and have your favorite content creator pull a stupid face.
Okay.
Freeze. And your life doesn't flash before you because you're too fucking scared to think. You just freeze and pull a stupid face.
And with good reason. It's a tense experience where every pull of the trigger crosses the line between life and death. Its success showcases that even after all these years, there's always room for a fresh take on horror. Not just walking down an endless corridor to have an old woman yell at you. Made by Mike Kublinka. Made by Mike Kublinka, a developer of short games on itch, some of which are interesting, but none have enjoyed this same level of success. Somehow it hit a perfect note, and it really caught on. The game presented here is simple. It's Russian Roulette, but with a shotgun. So baked in is the inherent stress of pulling the trigger on a dud, or even worse, a loaded shell. It's just you against another in a game of wit, chance, and luck. By the way, the man behind the table has no name, but I call him Smiley, because look at him. A face that can make a baby laugh. The surprising part here for me and many others is the quality and small details that pepper the entire game. This is a game that could have easily just rested on its concept, and instead chose to create an unsettling atmosphere to accompany it. The sound of the music in the club, its illusion of safety in its proximity, versus the reality as you have through choice trapped yourself in this room. You start by signing a waiver, and in turn, your life away. A room that is covered in wires and other industrial equipment that seem like they have been left to rust over the years, just waiting for you. None of this means anything for most of you, because of the smiling man holding a shotgun at your head, but it's the little things that help sell a world. In a time where horror games are either ghosts, or that thing that you remember as a kid, but scary now, it's nice to play a game showcasing something that even in reality will always be terrifying. A gun. The game plays out over 3 rounds, each adding another element to complicate things. First round is simple. The gun is loaded with a set number of live rounds and blanks. You want to shoot Smiley until he runs out of health, while only pulling blanks on yourself to get another turn. The animation here is smooth and expressive. The shaking of your hands, as you either aim at the man or yourself, makes every decision feel impactful. It all plays out with so much tension until that first live round rings out in your ears. But don't worry, you also have a set number of lives. After every shot, you get back up. I don't know how this works, but I know I don't like it. Once the chamber is empty, it's reloaded with another random number of bullets, and you keep going till either you manage to win a round or die. In the next round is when things get interesting. You are allowed 2 items every time the shotgun is loaded, that you take from a box. It's random, but every item is useful. The handcuffs either make you or Smiley skip a turn, useful for when you make a mistake and unload a blank on him. The beer lets you cock around in the chamber, removing it, and if it's the last one, it ends the turn. The magnifying glass lets you see what shell's currently loaded in the chamber, giving you an advantage that turn. The knife makes the current shell deal double damage, even against yourself if you make a mistake. And lastly, the cigarettes, which honestly I feel like should have been left out. They restore 1 health point. These can make rounds drag. Heh.
Mighty good.
Like a cigarette should.
After winning the second round, the game lets you take 4 items a turn, and your health now has a cutoff. If it hits a certain point, 1 shot will kill you, and even the cigarettes can't bring your health back up. At which point, most people's butts have locked down so tight, the suction has stuck you to the chair. It's wonderful. Now you might be looking at me as a hypocrite and asking, why reveal the game's tricks when earlier you said that's been a problem plaguing modern horror gaming? Well, I say a lot of things, firstly, but secondly, because the scare and tension never leave. Yeah. For example, maybe you have a perfect run, but the next one might be a disaster. I can tell you the cake is delicious, but until you taste it, you haven't experienced it. But what about counting the shells? I think Dirty Harry said it best.
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I kinda lost track myself.
You can count the shells and make assumptions, but the way the game shows you them before they're loaded makes that more difficult than you think. And it's easy to lose count, which in turn makes you a little bit more panicky. In other words, in summation, and in my opinion, it's a perfect horror game. The jump scare is always effective, even if you have already experienced it. There's something to be said about the unexpected still hitting you, even if your brain has fully grasped what's behind it. There's no calm here, always tension. The game still has a hold on you, even during a second playthrough. I was still clenched in the third playthrough. It's in no small part to the wonderful animation, music, and just sudden shock that accompanies a blast. Either against Smiley, or worse, yourself. The strongest kind of horror are the ones about losing control, where you're no longer in charge of the situation, and only strung along as it unfolds around you. Most horror games do that by taking control away from the player, or imposing a limit to what you are capable of. Outlast makes you vulnerable at all times, Resident Evil gives you limited ammo, Gollum makes you install it. But Buckshot Roulette always puts you in control of your actions, but never lets you relax, knowing that every decision has a consequence.